Hey, welcome to the first episode of Paint Talks with Kim. This is my little corner of the internet where I have the free space to create and share my thoughts and experiences. And in today's video, I wanted to share my thoughts on a particular lifelong experience. And for the sake of keeping this intro short and simple, let's get on with the video. So, I moved from one sunny city to another when I was only 2 months old. Born into a Korean family but raised in Indonesia, it never crossed my mind that I was any different than the kids I played with on the playgrounds. It wasn't until school started when I noticed that people were looking and treating me differently. In a place that was nothing but home to me, I was treated as a stranger. Maybe it was the way that I looked, but there were many other people who looked like me. Maybe it was the packed lunch I brought to school, the fact that I would have a little book with me that I constantly read to learn a totally different language. But even as a little kid, I tried so hard to fit in with the people around me whilst also retaining my mother and father's culture. It was confusing. At home, I'd learn how to write and read Korean and learn that being a Korean girl meant that there were many things to look out for, to not do and not say. In school, I'd learned that being a girl didn't mean that I had to silence myself and that I had the right to vocally express my opinions against other people, to stand for my own thoughts. People would ask me all the time where I was from. I was an East Asian girl in a tropical Southeast Asian island speaking Americanized English in a British school. And to that I shrug and say Jakarta, I guess, because that was the only place in the world that was really home to me. My parents and friends were all in Jakarta with me, and I grew up fully immersed in the Indonesian culture more than anything else. But it didn't ever change the fact that I was still classified as the foreigner kid. Throughout my school life, I had different people, from kids to classmates to adults, asking me what I was doing in Jakarta when I had a whole nother home country to live in. But those questions always made me feel uncomfortable because I was so detached from the Korean culture for all my life, and that fact on its own was an embarrassment to me as a person. How could I ever proudly call myself a certain race when I didn't even speak the language super fluently? I feel like a big part of my self-identity came from identifying within a culture and knowing that I fully belong somewhere. So maybe being what I was not the best situation for me because I felt like I was adrift somewhere between the Indonesian and Korean culture with no place to really hang on to for security. When I decided to come to Korea for university, I didn't know what to expect. Growing up, I was surrounded by people from all around the world. I was raised to be open-minded and accepting of different cultures and customs. I also knew that remnants of the Korean culture resided in me no matter where I was raised in the world. But the culture shock and alienation that I felt upon arriving in Korea was not what I expected. It was like kindergarten again. The intimidating, taller kids in kindergarten who used to tell me to go back to my own country had somehow transferred their energy to some of the people here as well. Even in university, I was faced with stereotyping of international students, questions of my decisions of coming to Korea, questions about why I was so comfortable with foreign exchange students and not with Korean students. Just questions after questions berating me about the fact that I was not fitting into the mold as I was expected to. This, I realized, was the life of a third culture kid. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the term before, but simply put, a TCK is a child who grows up in a culture different from the one in which his or her parents grew up in. So we have a unique place in any society to which we belong. We belong everywhere and anywhere, but also nowhere at once, which can be confusing and often debilitative at times. We're confronted with cultural walls. We can't relate to our parents' culture, yet at the same time, we're labeled as different from the mainstream culture we're encouraged to belong to. And therefore, we're basically sort of in a Twilight Zone state. I personally didn't know that a whole specific term existed for people in the same circumstances as me, and does knowing this fact make me feel slightly better about my situation? It does actually. There's a sense of relief at the fact that this is a social phenomenon caused by the globalization of the world. I'm not a freak, I'm just part of the TCK community. I guess, in a sense of poetic justice, you could say that I found the perfect place where I belong. I recorded this video because I would have loved to have this kind of video when I was going through more turmoils in my brain when it came to me questioning what I was doing wrong with my life and why I was feeling certain things. So, I hope this helped. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed watching me struggle at painting. And yeah, thank you for watching. Tune in for the next episode. Bye.